I trust my 40-year-old cars more than a 4-year-old car. Here's why. New cars are made for the assembly line, not the end user, repairer, or the driveway. After all, auto manufacturers aren't making any money if you're not buying new ones. But they don't want them to be repaired by the end user. They don't want them to be repaired easily or for even a cost-effective price tag. The truth is, many of those decisions are made by bean counters and even politicians. After all, if it was easy to buy, easy to repair, and easy to keep forever, you'd never need to buy another one. If new cars are being built so great, then why are they burning so much oil that makes my 300,000-mile LS and my Yukon look like a brand new engine? Now, I'm all for making some crazy power numbers, but at what cost? These things are going to be used up by the time they hit 100, 150, 300,000 miles. Have we come so far that we're trading reliability for efficiency? And once again, this sure looks like it's being run by the bean counters. If they're not selling you a new car every couple of years, what's the point? Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'm the kind of guy that tends to buy a car and keep it forever. I've had this El Camino for over 20 years. 23 years to be exact, and I've had my Regal 21. I don't want or need my car to be another entertainment device. I got plenty of those around the house. I don't need another one. I want my cars to be an expression of creativity. I want my cars to be a getaway from all that electronic crap. And believe me, the irony is not wasted on me. I'm talking to a camera here to talk with you guys. Gotta line the wing nuts up for aerodynamics, right? I know, and that I will openly admit that I am in the minority of consumers that actually likes tinkering and playing with and working with my cars. I make my cars better. I boxed the frame of my El Camino right here, getting things tied up so that way we can get this thing back on the racetrack. Oop, gotta make that zip tie match the other ones, right? Can't have them going the wrong way. Also gotta trim the tails, I'm not a monster. Name the last time a production car really made you go, ooh, that looks good. I mean, sure, there have been some thinly veiled attempts at making a decent looking car. I'm not talking about like the Corvettes or the GT40s, because those look sharp. But name the last time a production car that you would want to drive really looked good. To use David Freeberger's term, they're all just kind of mobility blobs. But why do they all look the same? I very much do believe that the reason all cars look the same is also due to the bean counters. I think that because the bean counters are running the show, how many ways can you really make an aerodynamic egg with an entertainment system on board? And I guess the truth is, I don't want some mobility blob that looks just like the other 10 mobility blobs that I'm next to in traffic. I want something that's, at least fun to look at. Remember when cars actually had beauty? Be nice to get back to that, wouldn't it? Long gone are the days when automakers actually cared about the styling of their vehicles. I mean, it's been a long time since you could tell a Ford from, Lincoln versus every other marquee. Buick, Cadillac, Oldsmobile, Chevrolet. They all had their own looks. But anymore, they all kind of look the same. And believe me, I know that from the corporate platforms like my beloved G-bodies, they didn't look that different, but you could always tell a Buick from an Oldsmobile from a Monte Carlo. I mean, they all had their own styling cues. It sure doesn't seem like that today. Sure, you might get a little bit different badging on the nose with Lexus versus whatever, but they all pretty much look the same. And to me, they're all boring eggmobiles. So leave it to the bean counters to want to take away individual styling cues that were actually unique. But you know something? It doesn't matter. I'm going to keep playing with and working with the old stuff that actually has styling cues to it. And remember when the automakers tried to bring back the retro styling? Did it really work? I'm going to leave that up to you. And yet somehow Jeep still got the Wrangler through the wind tunnel. And we know cows are more aerodynamic, right? I like my cars to be something a lot of new cars aren't, and that's mechanically honest. You see, my old stuff isn't overly complicated by a plethora of systems that don't necessarily add value. I don't have systems telling me to change my oil. I don't have systems telling me that my air-fuel ratios are correct, because I'm paying attention to what my car is doing, and I know all of these things. I know that already. I know that it's time to change my oil because I keep track of that information. I know that it's time my air-fuel ratios are correct because I see it in the spark plugs. I know my cars are running okay because I pay attention. I pay attention to how they're running. If there's a miss, is there something going on? I've got a vacuum gauge in the dashboard of this car. I can see what's going on whenever it's running. I don't have a computer throwing a check engine light over an evap code because it's not an issue on something like this. I don't have a car that's so raggedly tuned that it's one knock away from throwing out that dreaded change engine check engine light. The biggest difference is that a car that's mechanically honest, it requires you to take an active seat in participating and understanding what's going on. It means you actually have to pay attention, and I recognize that there's a lot of consumers that don't want to spend the time to understand what these machines actually do. But I'm not the average consumer. I know you aren't either. Sure, my stuff sweats a little bit of horsepower, but that's part of the mechanical honesty. It means you got to pay attention. If you can see it's been leaking and you haven't checked anything in a while, maybe you oughta. Does that mean it's the most unreliable vehicle in the world? Not at all. It just means it's a machine. Machines have machine things. But someone's going to say, but old cars require more maintenance. Not really. Once you get them set up correctly, they're just going to take the maintenance they're going to take. The thing about reliability is that it's something you maintain. It's not something that just happens in a vacuum. You want something reliable, you have to put in the effort to maintain the thing so that way it stays in a constant state of ready to go. So, are you going to maintain it, or are you just going to let it be and ignore it and throw it away like an appliance? I know what I'm going to do. So just about anything is reliable when it's maintained correctly. I've heard it said how you do one thing is how you do everything. Are you the one that has unreliable things you neglect and wonder why they're not reliable? Or are you the type that actually takes the time to maintain your stuff so it's always reliable and ready to rock when you are? You could be someone like me that lives way out in the middle of nowhere and you need something that's mechanically honest, something that you can fix pretty much with anything you have laying around. And that's what I've got. I can't be dependent on good cell coverage because my car decided it needs an update. And let's face it, the only updates this ever gets is when I put new parts on it. Not when some entity decides it's time to put some new software in it. But this is why we build cool cars. We box the frames on stuff like this. We build a Franken exhaust out of parts we find locally on Marketplace because we have something that's unique and reflects who we are. We aren't just being nostalgic, we're reclaiming control. This is about mechanical honesty, where the machine speaks and we have the skills to listen. If you're ready to stop guessing and start understanding what the machine actually tells you, check out this video over here where you can find electrical gremlins in 10 minutes. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later.